Hello, good afternoon. Today we have a short webinar in terms of our SD-WAN updates because we're launching a couple of new products this month and next in terms of the ESG series or the SD-WAN series. So we'll be launching two more models to cater for a bigger requirement, let's say more VPN tunnels and more number of ports. So guys, if you have any questions, you can leave it on chat or the QA function using Zoom. And this webinar is recorded. Again, you can find it on YouTube page, on our Engenius APAC YouTube page, or on Engenius Academy as well. So all our archived webinars will be there. So we launched the Engenius SD-WAN series, I believe, earlier this year, maybe around January or February. We are starting off with the ESG 510. Now, the ESG 510, the SD-WAN Gateway, focuses on that functionality. So we have the firewall configuration, we have load balancing and failover. So a lot of people are looking for this when it comes to gateway service. So as you know, load balancing on the Engenius SD-WAN gateways is pretty straightforward in terms of configuration. So all you need to do is plug in both your WAN connections and the rest will be taken care of by the system. So depending on the bandwidth allocation. We also have failover, so that's either on the WAN side or if you have a dongle, 3G, 4G, LTE, or 5G USB dongle, this can act as a third failover as well for internet services. So at least you still have provisions for internet service even if both your WAN links go offline. We also have the auto mesh VPN functionality. Again, for Engenius side, it's very easy to set up. It's as simple as enabling the function, selecting which hub or which sites you want to be meshed with, and that's it. The rest of the configuration, security settings, secured tunnel will be taken care of by the system. I think it's the most intuitive or easiest way to set up VPN so far across different brands in the market. Now, other functions that we focus on the SD-WAN gateways are, of course, your network, your VPN, your network topology. So once you establish your VPN connection, you will see the links live on the map. You can see the current latency as well as the usage, uptime of the link, which sites those tabs are interconnected. Because in the mesh VPN setup, all your sites can be interconnected to each other. So the SD-WAN gateways of Engenius, as a recap, it's managed on the cloud, so you can access it anywhere. It can interlink with the rest of our systems, our access points and our switches as well. And if you need to access it on the go, we have the Engenius Cloud to Go app. Now, the first model that we launched was the ESG 510. This month we are releasing the ESG 610, so it's a buffed version of the 510, which can handle more throughput, as well as the VPN tunnels. Later on, I'll discuss the specifics. And then for those clients that requires more ports or maybe a bigger WAN link, maybe 2.5G is not enough, you need at least 10G. So we have the ESG 620 for that requirement. Later on, I'll discuss the specifics on the hardware and the capabilities of the unit. So as a recap, ESG 510, this is a quad-core 1.6 GHz CPU. So it's more than capable to handle your multi-gigabit speed requirements. Security side, we have the TPM chipset, we have the stateful firewall, and all the ports are 2.5 gigs, are multi-gig. So we have two WAN slots. The other WAN slot can be converted into LAN if you only have one. And then we have a USB slot for cellular connectivity as a failover. We also have one PoE port, so let's say you're deploying this maybe on a branch office, on a branch unit, and then you want to directly power up an access point for Wi-Fi access. So you can just plug it in from here. If it's a Wi-Fi 6 access point, the speeds would be supported by the multi-gig port as well. So the ESG 610 has bigger memory. In terms of the physicalities, it's all the same. You have the same amount of bandwidth in terms of the capabilities, but you have a difference on the software side. So in a bit, I'll discuss to you the comparison between the three models that we have. 620 is a rack mount type. By the way, 610 and 510 are both desktop. They have provisions for wall mounting if required, so you can wall mount those. But the 620 is designed for rack mount deployments. So it has a 10G WAN link, which is through SFP+. So you can use any PoE standard module, sorry, SFP module that you have, so long as it's MSA certified. Your secondary WAN connection may be from an Ethernet connection as well. And then of course you still have your USB slot for the failover. So apart from that, it has 8 total ports. On the LAN side, you have another LAN for your SFP. Maybe you're passing through high bandwidth throughout the network, or you want to link this to another switch. So you can use that 10 gigabit uplink or downlink. And then you have your LAN ports, which are all 2.5G. And then for this model, it comes with 4 PoE plus LAN ports as well. So you can power up more PoE devices using this model. So to compare, 510 can handle firewall throughput of about 4 Gbps, VPN throughput of 970 Mbps, and then a maximum concurrent VPN tunnel. So this is site-to-site, mesh VPN or client VPN tunnel. It's about 200. So that's plenty for most, but some people require a bigger capacity. Maybe they have more branches, more sites, or more staff to connect back to their HQ. So 610, again with the same hardware specs in terms of the ports as a 510, just beefier CPU and memory. We have a 6.7 Gbps firewall throughput, so that's more bandwidth that you require, or it can be provided to you. VPN throughput is almost double the 510, so 1.7 G of VPN traffic. So when you divide this amongst your users, up to 300 maximum tunnels per site, now you have more bandwidth to play around with. For the ESG620, it has a way bigger firewall throughput because of the capacity, and also for the number of ports that it supplies. So this is capable to run 9.5 gigabits per second if you enable your stateful firewall. And then for the VPN throughput of the ESG620, so that's going through site to site, again client VPN as well, maximum of 1.7 Gbps. And the number of tunnels that you can have for both 610 and 620 are 300. ESG510 is available right now, so you can contact our partners or distributors for the pricing information. ESG610 would be available soon this month, and then ESG620, if no delays, will be available by next month. Pricing wise, I believe you can already start contacting our partners as well in terms of the ESG610. Now, there are a few updates that we released for the ESG to make it more compatible with more ISPs and more systems, so let me go over them. First update is the multiple bridge functionality. Now, the current version, the version before of the ESG 510, when we create interfaces, let's say DHCP servers under the ESG, you can create multiple. So in the past, when you create a bridge, let's say for example, your first LAN connection 192.168.x.x, and then second LAN connection is 10.x.x.x, and so forth. So your first LAN connection can be untagged, meaning when a client device connects to your router or the switch, straight away you can get a DHCP connection. Your second interface, however, if it's running 10.x.x.x, need to be on a specific VLAN for tagging. That may be an issue for some, because for example, like this setup, wherein they have two different networks, one for the camera system and then the other one for the smart TV system or IPTV service, in which both requires untag packets or untag VLAN. Here there is no layer 2 switch involved in this setup. Maybe this DVR or the media player is directly connected to ports 1 and 2 of the ESG. So in this scenario, both bridges should be untagged. Now, in this new version of the ESG 510, so long as you have it updated to the latest version, you can release untagged packets for both interfaces. Or maybe you have a third interface as well that requires untagged packets, so you can do so. Let me quickly switch over to the UI so you'd understand better. Just a minute. Okay, so hopefully the screen have refreshed. So this is my first interface on the gateway side. As we can see, we have the LAN interface here. Currently it's running 10.0.87.1 network and it's on bridge mode. So that means any connection that connects to this gateway, I would get an IP address based on this subnet. Now if I add another interface, usually it's going to be tagged with a VLAN. So maybe this has to be on a different VLAN, maybe VLAN 1 or 10 if VLAN 1 is your default, and so on. Now, in order to unlock multiple bridge mode, you just have to change the mode here to multiple bridge. So you get information on what it does, and once you apply it, your second interface would then have an option. So if you're adding a new LAN, you now have an option to either use VLAN or serve it as a bridge. So in this mode under bridge, again, when you create a bridge, all clients that connect to the gateway or through the switch will just get the HTTP IP directly because the ports are untagged. If you need VLAN tagging, all you need to do is essentially select VLAN and then set the VLAN what you want to tag here, connect it to layer 2 or 3 switch, so that from there, tag packets will go through, and then you can designate a specific VLAN for the network. So another update that we added is to override the default MAC address of the ESG. So this is important if, for example, you're subscribed to an ISP, and then the ISP side can only recognize a specific MAC address. Maybe they provisioned a router as part of the package. And when they connect to the internet, maybe through PPPoE or static IP or DHCP, the ISP can only link to that router if it's their registered MAC address. Now on the system, it's similar to a clone MAC feature. You can key in that MAC address of that device so that the ISP would recognize the ESG's connection, and then you can have your dial out or dial in using the ESG directly to the ISP. So this adds more compatibility towards different ISPs in different countries. Last update that we added for the gateway side is on the firewall settings. So now for port forwarding and outbound rules, if you want to generate a report, maybe you have an extensive list of your outbound rules here or port forwarding information, you can now export that into a CSV format. So once you run the export, it's gonna prompt you to download the file, and here you'd have all your information depending on how many rules you have for outbound and your port forwarding to see all that information displayed right here. So this makes it easier for reporting as well as keeping a log on what have you applied on the firewall side. So previously I've discussed that if, for example, you're setting up outbound rules for the firewall side, you can apply this now to all your ESGs in the network, so you only have to do it once. So let's say multiple branches from HQ side, maybe you're applying those different firewall rules. You can straight away apply it to all by just ticking this box and by having the ESGs on the same organization. For the next updates for the ESG, hopefully we can get that within the year. The schedule is a bit tight because of the number of the products that we'll be releasing. One of those are the Wi-Fi 7 access points, and then we have the cloud-based PDUs and so on. So hopefully the updates or the features for the ESG gateways would be released in time as well. So some of the things that we'll be releasing are, of course, more functionality for the SD-WAN side, improvements in terms of the capacity and speed, as well as other functions that have been mostly requested, such as content filtering and so on. So yeah, we'll be continuously expanding the ESG lineup in terms of the capacity and features. We also have another product to launch soon. This would be under our Fit solution, Engenius Fit, that falls under on-premise and SMB line. So we're gonna have a gateway under Fit as well. It's gonna be called the Fit Express Gateway. But I don't have the full details yet. Hopefully I can discuss it with you guys on the next webinar. Okay, so let me go through questions. I believe you guys have a couple here. Let me just check it out. Are there rack mount kits for the 510 and 610? So the 510 and 610 are desktop devices, but they have provisioning for wall mounts. So for wall mounting, if I'm not mistaken, the brackets and layout is included, so you can easily mount it on a wall. If I'm not mistaken, the screw should be in the kit as well, just like how we do it with our access points. Does the ESG 620 support 4 WAN ports? So let me just go back to the 620 diagram. So ESG 620, it supports 2 WAN ports. So that will be one, the SFP slot, which is running 10G. And then the second WAN port is the 2.5G Ethernet port, which is convertible to LAN as well. Third, WAN link, if you consider this as your failover, then you would have your USB cellular connectivity for another link. Can we have your slide? Yeah, definitely. I will pass it over to our sales team so that they can share it with you guys as well. So you can just contact our distributors or partners for the slides. Is there a smaller unit than the 510 still coming? We had a lot of requests like that because our 510, let me just go back one more slide. 510 have a 2.5G WAN and LAN as well. But we understand that the current market doesn't really require that much depending on the location of you guys. Maybe the ISP subscription is just 1G. Maybe the network, all the devices are still 1G. So a lot of our clients are also looking for a 1G device. So what I mentioned earlier, the FitExpress router would come with 1G LAN and WAN ports as well. But for the full details, please stay tuned for that. Another question is in terms of the WWAN link or the cellular connectivity. So they were asking if they can use this as their main link. Yeah, for internet traffic, like normal data, it should be fine. If there's no other choice, let's say for example on the site, for internet traffic, it should be fine. So long as it's stable, because this is a cloud gateway, so it needs to communicate to the cloud. So long as the cellular connectivity is strong in the area, I don't find any issues in terms of using the WAN link. But if you want to use it for VPN, we haven't provisioned the cellular data to use for VPN, but we're trying to include this function on the system as well in the future. Okay, one question is, I believe could be from our team. Is this SD-WAN product application aware? Is it able to prioritize certain traffic? So at the moment, we are in the planning stage to implement that functionality because we have a lot of requests in terms of specific application utilizing which WAN link, or for example, provide specific bandwidth to a certain app, or maybe prioritization for different applications on the network. So this is a must for some corporate environments and some office environments. So we are on the planning stage on implementing this. I just can't give you guys a date right now on when that will be released, but it's already in the works in terms of the application features of SD-WAN functionality. Okay, there is one question here on chat. If we use SD-WAN under Engenius between head office and regions, do we need 2 devices for HO, 1 device for the region? Sorry, let me repeat the question. If, for example, there is an HO and a branch, do we need 2 devices, meaning 1 for head office, 1 for the branch? Do we need public IP and HO for the region? Can we use broadband internet? Yeah, so for SD-WAN in terms of VPN connectivity, if you're linking site to site, let's say head office and branch, you would need 2 devices, any model of the ESG lineup, to bridge their connection over VPN. Now, you don't need to use public IP if it's going to be ESG to ESG, because your IP addresses would be updated by the cloud system. So it's all part of the cloud system. Let me share the gateway interface screen for a minute. Yeah, so for site-to-site VPN, sorry, let me jump over another network. Yeah, for a site-to-site VPN, it's pretty straightforward in setting it up. You don't need to set up the security parameters, set up pre-set up IP addresses, IPs, get a set IP address subscription from ISP. All you need to do, if the device is an ESG, is to have them on the same organization. Let's say, for example, here in my Orga Singapore office. So I can have 1 ESG on every network. So long as they're in there under my network, and then I enable site-to-site VPN. I choose Mesh VPN. From there, I can see which hubs are available for pairing, and then which LAN subnet I want to share for my VPN connection. So once I set that, I hit apply, the connection will be established. So no need to worry about the public IPs, because the system, since it's on the cloud, it would always update the peers if, for example, the IP address changes. If we are pairing to a third-party device, for example, a non-Engenius gateway, then the gateway would need to have a static IP. Because for the gateway side, since our cloud cannot identify what IP address that device is using, we're going to have to update it manually on the system to link there. But if it's an Engenius gateway, Engenius to Engenius side-to-side connection, there wouldn't be any issue in terms of the VPN connectivity. So any internet service should be compatible. But again, if you are going to use the VPN under the cellular connectivity, we're still in the process of implementing that on the system. So currently VPN is supported on either the WAN LAN links, the WAN Ethernet ports, or the WAN SFP slot. Can we set up side-to-side using a third-party device? Yes, definitely you can. So any type of internet or VPN connectivity that uses IPsec is supported. In the future, we'll also be adding OpenVPN support as well. Client VPN is also supported. So for client VPN, it's a bit more tricky because we're going to use an external software usually to link from a, let's say, PC directly or phone directly going to the ESG. So for client VPNs, the ESG must be equipped with a public static IP. If it's site-to-site connection, you don't need to subscribe for a static IP from your ISP if you are using all ESGs on the network. Okay, so there is another question regarding multiple WAN links. So, for example, there are two WAN links being utilized by the client, maybe WAN 1 from ISP A, WAN 2 from ISP B. So, are we able to utilize all WAN links through bonding, or only failover? So right now we support load balancing between the two WAN links. So it's going to be through weighted round robin in terms of the transfer of data. So maybe client during this session at a particular application, it will be using WAN 1, and then for another session it's going to be using WAN 2. So the system will take care of that in terms of juggling between the two WANs. Now, in terms of failover, WAN 2 can also act as a failover. You just have to choose that on the cloud. If you want WAN 2 to always be on standby only, you can have that happen. What we don't support is bonding. So bonding is if, for example, you want to combine WAN 1 and WAN 2 as a logical link to have a combined bandwidth. We cannot do that on the ESG. So for the ESG, we support load balancing, which means shared load between both WAN links, or failover, or which means active and standby for WAN 1 and WAN 2. Can DDNS be used for setting up client VPN? Yeah, DDNS can be set up as well. Okay, so what software do you guys recommend for client VPN connectivity? So we do have the information available on our cloud manual. For Windows, usually we would recommend Shrew as a VPN client. If you're going to connect using your mobile phones, maybe Android, iOS, the native VPN client on those devices are supported. So basically, you just have to set up the VPN link on your mobile phone, or let's say iOS on Android. Key in the credentials of the ESG setup that you have created, and that's it. So for Windows, Shrew is supported. The native Windows VPN client unfortunately is not supported because it does not support X authentication or XAuth. So any type of client software that supports XAuth can be used as a VPN client. Does this unit have dual PSU? We only have one power supply link for the models. I don't have a photo of that, unfortunately. So for the 510 and 610, there is a lock to it. So once you plug it in, you can lock the power cable or power cord, so you wouldn't be able to unplug it accidentally. So it's an external power supply, which is included in the box. For the 620, the power supply is internal. Is SSL VPN supported? So we are adding SSL VPN support soon as well. Okay, one question here. Besides the number of VPN tunnels supported, do you have the number of users supported as well? For the SD-WAN gateways, we actually do not have the list on how many users are supported per device. We do have the information per TCP sessions. For example, for the ESG 510, the number of supported TCP sessions is 1 million. And then for the ESG 616 and 610 and 620, it's higher. Let me share the information where you can get that data. So if you go to Engenius.ai, we have a list of all the cloud products that we have. Let me wait for it to load a bit. And then under products, head over to SD-WAN gateways. So on the bottom part, you would have a list of all of the ESG gateways to be released. So let's look at a 610. There's a nifty tabulation here, by the way. So 610, if you want to know how many maximum concurrent sessions that support, here we list it out as 1.25 million TCP concurrent sessions. And then for the ESG's 620, let me just head over there. It's going to be 1.5 because of the higher capacity box. So you also have information here on the maximum VLAN, etc. So if you need detailed information on the specifics, you can head over to our website, Engenius.ai. So yeah, in terms of the concurrent users, it's really not listed. It depends on the number of concurrent sessions. Typically, an average user would consume maybe 15,000 sessions for the day, and then for a pro user, roughly about maybe 40,000 sessions. Same question as above. Do you have the number of users supported apart from the VPN tunnel supported? So, yeah. We counted based on the TCP sessions. If you are asking about the number of VPN users supported, we have that on the datasheet as well. So we have the maximum current VPN users here listed out too. So for example, for the 620, it's 500. For the 6510, I believe it's also it's 250. Let me just go ahead and check on that. Yeah, it's 250 for the 510, and then I believe it's higher as well for the 610. Yeah, so 610 and 620, they support 500 concurrent VPN users. Concurrent VPN does include IP phone. If the IP phone utilizes that VPN tunnel, then yeah, it will be counted as well. So yeah, for more details on the ESG gateways, depending on the model, you can just head over to Engenius.ai. So we have a breakdown of all this specific parameters as well. Okay, so last couple of questions. Let me go through them. Is there a compatibility list for supported devices for the USB modem, or does it work pretty much with any USB modem? So technically, it works pretty much on any cellular dongle, whether it's 3G, 4G, LTE, 5G, or any other cellular connectivity, so long as it supports bridge mode. So we have an extensive list of about 390 plus, or 400 over cellular dongles. If you need this compatibility list, I'm not sure if it's listed on the website, but you can get it from our sales team as well. Last question: are the WAN links on the ESG active standby, or are both active? So you have an option to select active, as in load balancing, for the WAN links of the ESG. So that will be between WANs 1 and 2. And then you also have an option to be active standby or failover. So that will be between WAN 1 and WAN 2, as well as the third WAN link, which is cellular. So failover, WAN 1 can be WAN 1, WAN 2, as well as the cellular connectivity. And then for active or load balancing, it's going to be between WANs 1 and WAN 2. Yeah, so hopefully I've answered. I think I answered everyone's questions today. If you guys have any other question about the ESG or any products of Engenius, please feel free to approach our sales team or our Engenius partners as well. So we haven't sent out our next round of webinars for August or September, but I believe one of those would include the latest models to be released end of the year as well, and some other feature that we have. So you guys please stay tuned for that. I think I can get one more question here. Are there alarms if WAN is down? So yeah, we do have active alarms for the cloud system, not just for the ESG, but for the switches and access point as well. The fastest alarm that you can get is by push notification if you're using an Engenius Cloud to Go app. So through the app, you can configure the notifications that you can receive If, for example, a device goes offline, immediately you get a push notification to be alerted. At the same time, since you're using that app, you can also do configuration as well as diagnostics using the app as well. For instance, maybe you want to run a speed test, you want to check the CPU usage or memory usage of the device and so on, so you can run that through the system. So I think that concludes the session today. Again, this would be a recorded webinar, so we'll be posting it shortly on the YouTube APAC page, as well as on the Engenius Academy page as well. By the way, for those who haven't taken the certification under Engenius Academy, please feel free to visit our Academy website. All the certifications are free. Let me pull up the page real quick. Yeah, so the page is academy.engenius.ai, and then from here you'd be able to enroll on 4 different courses. So one for wireless, another one for switching. We have one for a basic Engenius product information, and then for the security gateway. So wireless, wired, routing, as well as one for Engenius overall. So apart from that, you can also access our previously recorded webinars and also sign up for upcoming webinars that we have. So we haven't updated this list. We'll be updating it hopefully within the week. So yeah, thank you guys for attending today's webinar. You guys have a good day. Any other questions, you can just let our partners or sales team know. And the slides I'll be passing over to the sales team as well, so you can just find them to get the slides too. Thank you guys. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.